Pokémon Go is no longer owned by Niantic Labs. And usually this would be wonderful news. The game had been hurting, like I talked about in this video and a little in this video as well, because they had made some questionable decisions to uphold Niantic's vision. The reason why this is not being widely celebrated is because it was sold to Scopely, which is basically a casino disguised as a game developer. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, and Gen 10 will be very important for Pokemon Go. Let's get into it. I almost did not make this video because I'm on that Pokémon Legends Z-A hype train. But during my stream, Jay Delado thought it deserved one, and from what other people were talking about, I think it really might deserve it. It's undeniable that a lot of Pokemon's success nowadays, including that of the main games, is because of how popular Pokemon Go was when it was released. It was insane how many people got back into Pokemon after decades of not even looking at it, or how many people only knew about Pikachu and now they can probably tell you every single Pokemon from Bulbasaur to Pecharunt. It's simply insane, unlike liking, subscribing, or even joining the channel. That's pretty reasonable. What I'm trying to say is that even more because of the connection Pokemon Go has with the main games through Pokemon Home and Melton and Melmetal, it's a topic I absolutely should discuss. But before we continue, how do you feel about the whole situation? Let me know down below. First of all, who is Scopely? They describe themselves as a global interactive entertainment and mobile-first video game company. They own the likes of Marvel Strike Force, WWE Champions, Monopoly Go, and a whole bunch more. They also have a wonderfully bad 1.1 score on Trustpilot, but to be fair, so does Niantic. And they're known for one very simple thing: heavily monetizing their games. This is the big issue that people are worried about. The Niantic sale apparently includes the dev team, meaning that the people that actually make the game stay the same, it's the decision makers that actually change. Now, we can't say that the game was running perfectly, but we also can't say that it was because they weren't making enough money. We know that Niantic, at least more recently, tried to monetize more and more aspects of the game, and they didn't really see a huge increase in profit, and they also didn't see a huge increase in players' happiness. In fact, I'd say they saw the absolute opposite. If Scopely follows through with their usual business plan, then that would certainly result in the death of Pokemon Go, at least in my opinion. It wouldn't happen from one day to the other, but I believe that it would be the result of this whole thing. And Pokemon Go, at least for me, it's one of this franchise's biggest successes, and an almost perfect game if they wanted it to be, so it's a big loss for us. Now, why do I talk about Gen 10 being the most important and likely final nail in the coffin for Pokemon Go? It's all because of the most exciting thing about this mobile game. It hasn't happened in a long time, but back in the day, the most exciting time to be a Pokemon Go player was the release of a new generation. Before they started adding just like 5 Pokemon plus the starters, we had huge batches of Pokemon coming out. Even Gen 3, when they started a more gradual release, had a pretty big batch of Pokemon out in the first update. This had you running around searching for Pokemon that you didn't have. Yes, they were appearing pretty often, but you had a lot of them to catch, not just 5. Now you can just take all of that and do it in a few hours and maybe less. It doesn't help that the Pokestop update from a big while ago told you where the Pokemon is, that new Pokemon. Sure, after you catch it, it doesn't take priority over the rest of them, but since the spawns are already overpowering the regular spawns, then it's pretty easy to find. Before, they were also overpowering the spawns, but there were so many of them that you are still looking for the Pokemon. You are still trying to catch a Pokemon, hunt for them like you do in a Pokemon game. This not only created a big sense of adventure, but it also created a big sense of community. How else are you gonna know where every Pokemon is if you're not keeping in touch with other players in the area? Now, you just don't need that. It's very easy to just be done with it very quickly without having to interact with anyone. Before, people were talking to each other, reporting on Pokemon they had in the area. It was perfect. With the release of Gen 10, likely late in 2026, we will eventually see these new Pokemon take their place in Pokemon Go. I know that even before that, there's a bunch of Gen 9 Pokemon that need to be released, but I do feel like it will be easier to notice how the game will be ran when you have a new clean slate to add to the mobile app. If Gen 10 follows the trend of monetization that Niantic was already following, and that people feel will get a lot worse in the hands of such a controversial company like Scopely, then I don't think Pokemon Go survives for much longer than the next generation of Pokemon titles. Now, it's always possible that they bring back the magic of adventuring, the magic of community into Pokemon Go, and if that happens, I'll be very happy that I'm proven wrong. I really do enjoy this game and it has a special place in my heart, and when I stopped playing, it was sad. I felt like, okay, I'm done with Pokemon Go, I think. I did do Fuecoco's Community Day because, well, I need a shiny and I don't want to breed in Scarlet and Violet, but that's about it. I felt like the fun was no longer there, taken by a company that was too keen on selling location data to give us a good experience. Still, I'm not very hopeful for a change. From what I've read online in reviews way before the announcement of Niantic selling Pokemon Go, it's a constant theme in Scopely's games. Bad customer service, high number of microtransactions, paywalls, and the classic pay-to-win. I don't see them changing their ways when Pokemon Go can be their new very profitable cash cow. Pokemon is still very huge, maybe bigger than ever. It really is a very valuable IP, and even with Niantic, Pokemon Go wasn't making crazy profits like it did in, for example, 2020 because of the pandemic, but it was still making quite a lot of money. It was just the approach that Niantic had that wasn't working, and because of that, they had to just find a new way, and that just didn't work out with the players. And so, here we are, selling the game. Not only Pokemon Go, by the way, this whole thing is about Pokemon Go, but they are selling all of their games. And this includes other popular franchises like Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter Now and even Pikmin with Pikmin Bloom. It's just that Pokemon Go is the biggest one and the one that they made their money and their whole thing out of, so that's the one we're focusing on. And also, I do cover Pokemon, so that's what I feel will affect the viewers of this channel. But if you play any of the other games by Niantic, tell me what's going on that side of the community, what are people talking about, and what their opinion is on what's happening. Imagine buying your trained and perfectly IV'd competitive Pokemon, having to watch ads to spin a Pokestop, or just having shiny odds for community days behind paywalls. It doesn't feel right, and it feels like a possibility now. I might just be a doomsayer, but I don't want that to happen to this game, I really don't. And I think it really depends on how much of Pokemon Go does the Pokemon Company control. Can Scopely do whatever they want and the Pokemon Company just allows them to use the Pokemon name? Or are there some rules in play that cannot be broken? Honestly, we'll only really find out by experiencing the whole thing, and at this point, it's a very bittersweet goodbye to good old glitchy, buggy and greedy Niantic, and a very scared and worried hello to Scopely, a very greedy Scopely. But hey, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, I want to thank my YouTube members Dash Plays and Yahtzee and Twitch subscriber Anubis and Zanes222 for going that extra mile. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much.